This is Zach Clark for Space Coast Daily. With me, Orville Susan. Steve Wilson is under the weather today, so me and Orville are at the helm today. We're out here in the Riverfront Park in the historic Cocoa Village here, and beautiful view and a beautiful day out here. But we're going to talk about some boys basketball here. Districts were started up this week, and Orville, we'll start off with the 3A.
3A through 7A boys basketball this week. They all played games. They all came up with district winners and district runner-ups. The district winners will host. The runners-up will go on the road, and they'll head out to see what out there on the other side of the Brevard County line. But first in Class 3A, Florida Air Falcons beat St. Edward 71-43, and MCC beat John Carroll. So that's the matchup we want to see. The Melbourne Central Catholic Hustlers, Florida Air beat MCC 77-58. So Florida Air is the district winner in that one, and Florida and MCC is the runner-up. So that's the game we wanted to see, and very surprisingly, Florida Air handled the MCC quite well, and the score, I think, very surprising to Steve and I both, but Florida Air wins that district. And then we'll move on to Class 4A, and that's the big one. 7 teams in that district, and a lot of ball playing went on this week. The Cocoa Tigers beat Cocoa Beach 68-28 to get down the line. Space Coast was at Astronaut. Edgewood beat West Shore 67-52 earlier in the week. Astronaut beat Space Coast 77-61, and then Holy Trinity beat Edgewood. Big game here by 60, 90-30. It gives you an example of the number 1 seed and the number 4 seed, 90-30. And Cocoa Beach beat Holy Trinity in the finals, 68-62. Now, were we surprised about that game? No. They played each other twice during the year. Cocoa won one time and Holy Trinity won one time. But James Rowe and the Cocoa Tigers finally, with all their football players back, everybody in basketball mode, we had a feeling that the Cocoa Tigers could squeak by. And so they, in that district, they're the number 1 seed, and they'll host Holy Trinity. Tigers will go on the road. In Class 5A District 15, Suncoast was the number 1 seed there. They had the bye, so that put Palm Bay and Bayside playing the game there, and Palm Bay won that game 73-37, another lopsided victory, which we really did not expect. But then Suncoast beat Palm Bay 56-47. So Suncoast, the number 1 seed there, the district winner, and the Palm Bay Pirates will be the runner-up, and they'll go on the road. In Class 5A District 14, Titusville Satellite, Merritt Island, and Rockledge. And this one really played out like we thought it would. The Titusville Terriers were the number 1 seed. They beat Rockledge, the number 4 seed, 88-72 earlier in the week. The Satellite Scorpions beat the Merritt Island Mustangs. That was a 2 and a 3 seed, 46-40. And the final of that game, the Titusville and Satellite, became the Friday night locker room game of the week, which we did in Titusville last Friday night. A packed gymnasium, rocking on both sides. Titusville had a great student atmosphere there, the yelling and screaming, and I mean, it was just what high school basketball should be. Chris Bainbridge and the Titusville Terriers won that 61-52. At one point they were up by 19 points, but they ended the game with a 9-point win, and it got them the district championship the first time they've hosted that banner since 1999. So congratulations to Chris Bainbridge and the Titusville Terriers. They will move on. So they will host next week, and Satellite will go on the road. In Class 6A, the big boys, Edgewater beat O'Galley 54-51. We kind of thought that would happen. Edgewood, a very, very good ball team this year out of the Orlando area. Heritage beat East River at East River 70-51, and that put Edgewater and Heritage together. Edgewater came up with the win, 71-66. So Edgewater is your Class 6A champion on the Space Coast. And in Class 7A, last but not least, you've got the Melbourne Bulldogs, Martin County, Viera, and Sebastian River. This one played out like everybody thought it would. The Melbourne Bulldogs and Martin County fought it out. Martin County beat Melbourne one time. Melbourne beat Martin County one time. But in the semifinals, Melbourne beat Sebastian River 42-33, and Martin County beat Viera 67-46. So that set up the big matchup in Class 7A between Melbourne and Martin County. Mike Sullivan and the Melbourne Bulldogs win that one by 20. 80-60. So a big win there for Melbourne and the Bulldogs. They will host this week coming up. Martin County will go on the road, and that's your boys side.
Now, who was the biggest surprise coming out of the district round so far, would you say?
Well, I think everything played out just like we thought it would. Down in the 4A, Edgewood won a ball game. They beat West Shore, which that we did a Friday night locker room game of the week earlier, Edgewood and West Shore, and Edgewood won that ball game, but West Shore was right there at the end. A ball in the air at the buzzer gave Edgewood the win. So we thought that would be kind of a toss-up, but Rocky Jenkins and the Edgewood Indians won that ball game. Titusville really was no surprise, but Satellite and Titusville fought all year. They played twice during the season. They split both times, so it was a real good ball game to call on the radio. And I tell you, Satellite, we hadn't seen him all year. They've got a 6'6" senior named Cole Hunter who threw in 33 points against Titusville, and he did it from underneath, from the key, and he stepped out when he had to and shot 3-pointers. But he's 6'6". He had 22 rebounds, a double-double for him. And in high school basketball, a double-double is really tough to get. And so he was the man there. Unfortunately, he didn't get a lot of help from the rest of the Satellite Scorpions, and Titusville was able to win that ball game. But I think that was maybe not the most shocking, but the most exciting game of the week.
For this upcoming week, who do you have as like an upset alert? Who should be on alert this week?
Well, some of the games these teams will host and go to, they're still playing. So we're not really sure who's going to play who, and probably won't until this evening. There was some games played last night. There was a couple games, I believe, that are going to be played this afternoon around the Orlando area and the Vero Beach area. So we don't know yet who everybody is going to play. So no upset thing here. I like the Titusville Terriers going deep in the playoffs. I really do. I like the Melbourne Bulldogs and Mike Sullivan going deep into the playoffs. Beating Martin County for them is a big task, because Martin County always a big, strong, powerful team, and Melbourne has developed a nice defense to go along with some nice outside shooting, and they do very well from the free throw line. So I like the Melbourne Bulldogs there too. Heritage. Steve always liked Heritage all year. They lost to the Edgewater 71-66, but I think they'll do well in the playoffs. They'll have to go on the road to do it, but I think the Heritage Panthers could win next week and should win pretty easily.
Great stuff, Orville, and we're out here at the riverfront here in the historic city of Cocoa, and that was the overview for the boys. And we have the top 5 here. Steve is out today, so we won't get his top 10. So, but Orville, we're going to get your top 5 of who you have. Who do you got in your top 5 for this week?
Well, first, let me say this. All year long, Steve and I have battled about the top 5, and he's had a top 8 and a top 10 and 3 honorable mentions, 2 guys riding in the back seat of the van, whatever he could to get extra guys in here. Steve Wilson is not sick. Steve Wilson is embarrassed because of his girls' top 5 that he wasn't able to put on the board correctly. I beat him there on the top 5 in the girls. That's why he's not here. He's sitting at home right now licking his wounds, knowing that we're doing the boys' top 5 today, and he's going to take another licking. We may not see Steve Wilson for a couple of weeks, but anyway, I did talk to him earlier, and he sheepishly gave me his top 5 for the boys because I made him, because I thought we would have to say that. So this is Steve Wilson's top 5, and I only let him do 5, so okay. This is it. Steve Wilson has the Florida Air Falcons, which we both had since day one. There's no question about that. Coach Caporo and the Florida Air Falcons do everything well. They play defense well, they shoot well, they post up well, rebound well. They've got it all, and so they should go deep into the playoffs. The Heritage Panthers, who Steve liked, even though they lost in the district to a very good team from the South, they're going to make some noise, I think. Cocoa Tigers, he has them at number 3. The Holy Trinity Tigers at number 4, and the Melbourne Bulldogs at number 5. There's 2 things now. That's Steve Wilson's top 5. 2 things that Steve and I agree on in the top 5. Number 1 is Florida Air Falcons at number 1 and the Melbourne Bulldogs at number 5. In the middle, I've got the Cocoa Tigers. I think James Rowe has got the Tigers ready to go for postseason play. Everybody's there. We watched them play a week ago, and everybody knows their role off the bench and starters, and I think he's got them poised to go. They beat a very good Holy Trinity team, which I have at the number 3 spot. And I brought Heritage up just because of the way that they played. They lost in the district game, but they got beat by a very good team from Edgewaters. And Edgewater, 3,500 people in that school. They've got a lot of guys to pick from. So I've got the Heritage Panthers at number 4. So I've got, and the Melbourne Bulldogs at 5. So I've got the Florida Air Falcons, Cocoa Tigers, the Holy Trinity Tigers, Heritage Panthers, and the Melbourne Bulldogs. Next week, Steve will have to apologize and let you know that that's the real top 5.
So now we get the real scoop on why Steve's not here.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, Orville, for your top 5 and Steve's top 5. From everybody at Space Coast Daily, thank you very much. This was a Friday Night Locker Room show for Orville Susan and Zach Clark. Thank you for watching.